is a Bramble Jam podcast. Hello, everybody!
Oh, boy!
Hello.
Get ready. 1, 2, 3. Ring the bell.
DCOM. Ring the bell.
It's
School's in, sucker.
No, well, it's wrestling.
Oh, it's wrestling.
I pinned you, and then I said,
How
ring
many
the bell.
times in that movie did they go 1, 2, 3, ring the bell?
No, different type of wrestling, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
As far as I can tell, I actually don't know the rules of...
What is the freeze frame over here where you and I couldn't be in weirder spots here?
Don't worry about it.
It's take it to the tape.
Let's take it to the tape.
What are you asking
It
me?
was exporting.
In professional wrestling, WWE, wrestling, if you
Wrestling,
will,
yes.
they 1, 2, 3 ring the bell.
They 1, 2, 3, ring the bell.
I don't know what they do in this type of
What
wrestling.
are the
Hi, everybody.
decom
Welcome.
descendants?
We're talking going to the mat today. We're very excited about that. Also very excited about all of the reviews that have come
We got
in.
a new one. We got a new one
Nice.
from Allison at 2848.
Yes, finally.
5 stars. I'm the same age as Brandon and Aaron, but I never watched much Disney
A
Channel.
youngster.
I've still been loving the pod and can't wait to get more movies I've actually seen. Motocross was a 10 of 10. Thanks for not leading me astray. Wow. Great review. Great review. Allison.
Fascinating life story. Someone who is our age, didn't watch DCOM, still listens to our show, and is now watching the movies.
To be fair, when these movies started, I was still in high school living at home, but I didn't have the Disney Channel. So
Loser.
I know, right?
Dork.
Such a loser. Sorry. Sorry I even brought it up.
I'm not. I had fun.
Yeah.
I had fun with it. You know what else I have fun with? This poop right here. It's time for Delish. Show everybody this. Show everybody this big mud pie. Here it is. I don't know.
It's a mug cake.
Okay, what do we got going on today? We're talking going to the mat.
DCOM with D is for Delish.
Yeah,
DCOM.
Delish. We're talking going to the
you,
mat.
Thank you.
We're talking going to the mat. We're talking a wrestling movie.
some
We're
classes.
talking about something. If I was going to watch this movie and I wanted to enjoy something, a food, a beverage, what should I do? What's a good tie-in? A theme?
So I was talking with my good buddy Bran
Hello.
about the Delish segment
Yes.
for this movie, and Bran said it's a wrestling movie. Just make a protein shake.
That is what I said.
And I said, cool. I'm gonna take the idea of
Bet.
a protein
All right, bet.
and then find a dessert. So there is a whole website which I can't remember, but
It's the carnivore
I know.
diet.
it is.
Poopdesserts.com.
It's not. It is called thebigmansworld.com. But it's
Okay, Aaron, what
Yeah,
you do
I'm
in your
sure-
own time is
Aaron, I'm
not,
sure you
none of our
just found
business.
that.
I ran across the
I'm sure you
bigmansworld.com.
don't have it as your homepage.
I don't.
Bookmarked at least.
I had just Googled protein desserts.
Uh-huh.
It popped up. It's
Right.
a whole page of it's got ice cream, brownies,
It's the big
cookies.
man's world.
Apparently only men need
Big protein, big boys.
So,
That's right.
Yeah. But I found this mug cake, and our tie-in here is protein for wrestling.
Yeah.
Duh.
Obviously, because they're doing that. But there's a scene where his mom is making a cake.
Oh, well, there
I
you
love
go.
it.
And there she's making this cake, and he's, talking about his upcoming wrestling match, and they do this whole bit with the frosting, and I thought that was cute. So of all the protein desserts, we got a cake. This is a mug cake. You can make it in the microwave.
Okay.
Wow.
So what is it?
What's in it?
So it is chocolate protein powder, some cocoa powder. You're supposed to use coconut flour, but Hot Publix did me dirty, did not have coconut flour. So we have almond flour.
Smells like a brownie.
Yeah. And
looks like
then
a brownie.
some sugar, milk, egg, and some M&Ms.
All right, here we go. And some M&Ms.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not bad.
I ain't upset about that.
Major gains, baby. You all right?
Shout out to all the big boys. You know?
It's a big man's world.
So physically not the most appealing dessert, but minimal ingredients, and it takes less than 2 minutes in the microwave.
You whip that sucker up in a bowl and you just put it in the microwave and bada bing?
Yeah.
How about that?
Looks like that. There you go.
So
Say what you will about the big boys.
big man.
Big man.
Say what you will about the big man. That's all I'm going to say.
So yeah, not bad. I did test run this first to make sure that it wouldn't blow up in my face in the
It
microwave.
didn't blow
so.
up at all.
No.
How about that? That's wonderful. You know what else is wonderful?
A break?
Break. We're going to take a break. We're going to come back. It's finally time, everybody. Going to the mat. Andy Lawrence, he's back. Decom Descendants.
Decom to come on, man. Give us a chance.
On Decom Descendants. Welcome back to.
It's like he doesn't.
Welcome back to.
This is just an advertisement for donuts for dudes.
Welcome back to.
DCOM Descendants.
There it is.
You scrolling the Big Boys website?
No, I wasn't. I just was on the social media, and there was a.
And you just get ads for the Big Boys.
No,
just gets
it was
ads for
this-
donuts for dudes.
The school where we taught is doing a thing where dads come and eat donuts with the students.
Oh, that type of dudes. I thought it was like a boy.
Yeah.
For Big Boys. We're talking going to the mat, everybody. We're talking going to the
It's Big
mat.
Man's World.
Going to the mats was, of course, I'm sure. I actually don't have this confirmation. Takes place in Salt Lake City. I would imagine it was also filmed in Salt Lake because
Makes
it's a
too much
DCOM
sense
and that's what
not
they
to.
do.
Yeah.
We have written by Chris Nolan
Yep.
and Lori Nolan.
There's a lot of time jumps in this movie. It's crazy. Yeah.
Also, Steve Bloom had a hand at it.
Steve-O.
And Stu Krieger.
Stu Krieger.
Yeah.
Stu Krieger sounds familiar, like we've heard that name before. I'm going to look it up. Back to you, Brandon.
Stuart Gillard is a director. He's done a handful of these, and it is starring one Andy Lawrence. He's back, everybody. Alessandra Torresani,
Yeah, you got it.
Cleo Thomas from Holes fame,
That's right.
played Zero in Holes, and of course,
Played Zero in this movie.
Played Fly. Very different character. And Wayne Brady is also in the movie for a moment or two.
Stu Krieger, writer of Gotta Kick It Up, writer of The Poof Point, writer of Xenon the
There you
Sequel,
go.
writer of Phantom of the
There you
Megaplex,
go.
writer of
Wow.
Smart House, writer of Xenon Girl of the 21st Century, writer of the Rugrats movie, writer of
Wow.
Goosebumps Attack of the Mutants, Goosebumps Escape from Horrorland, writer of Freaky Friday 1995. He's written a lot of your childhood.
I love that.
Yeah.
No, okay, great. So I also saw that Christopher Brady is the music composer, and I was like, I wonder if he's related to Wayne Brady. He does not look like it.
What
But
do
there
you mean
go.
by that?
He's white. And who's the guy you really like? What's
Billy
his name?
Aaron Brown?
Billy Aaron
Yeah,
Brown
you
is
kept
also
saying
in
it.
this, and that's very important. Billy Aaron Brown from Mary-Kate Ashley fame.
Who, pre this episode, I would have told you was in almost every movie I watched as a teen, and turns out he was in like 3. So
Nada.
There
Yeah.
you go.
there we go.
Shall we
Sorry.
dive in?
Billy, if you're listening,
Billy, are
you had a
okay?
huge influence on my childhood, and I'm sorry that I.
Shout out to Billy.
Shout out
Haven't
Billy.
seen-
Spell DCOM without C for ComChat. I'm
That's
sorry.
right.
Go ahead. I interrupted
And
you.
for
Go
Billy.
ahead.
And for Billy,
And for Billy. C for Billy.
C for
ABC
Billy.
always be
Billy.
Billy.
Always be Billy. So the movie kicks off in a really
Something we found on bigmen.com. Whatever that was.
the movie kicks off in a really weird way,
What if
and
Big Man is Billy?
Big
That-
Man Billy. Big Man. That's what they call me. Big Man Billy.
now thinking about the way that this movie began, it's just weird to me.
Wild?
Yeah, so it takes place at this big like concert hall with a pipe organ.
I
Go
do want to
ahead.
be clear. He says later in the movie, and I didn't bring it up because we got sidetracked. He says that was Rockefeller Center. He goes, the night before I left,
What?
we played Rockefeller Center.
No,
That's what he said.
I think he was kidding.
He
Had
said,
to be.
He said it dead serious.
No,
We'll have to take that.
Rockefeller
I
Center.
know we
We'll take
already
it to
took
the
it to
tape
the tape.
Because that was the Kingsbury Auditorium with
Yeah.
some columns. That was not Rockefeller Center. But he's supposed to be in New York City. He clearly isn't. Go ahead, Brandon.
That's exactly right. That's what we're trying to say.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's in New York City. The band is just crushing it. Pipe organ, horns. He's drumming and he's phenomenal. He's rocking his glasses and he's having a good time. And everybody's like, "Yeah, go Jace. We love Jace." He does live in New York City, or so they say, but he is moving to Utah. And the movie does some things early on that Dan didn't know anything about this movie going into it, and Dan was unsure what was going on.
So-
But you knew things were happening, and they were doing weird things that made you go, "What's up with this?"
The first scene where he's playing drums with the glasses on, I was like, well, that thing you do just came out. Shades' whole thing was he wore the sunglasses inside while he played the drums.
in
And
the name.
then the next scene, he's playing softball. So, like, not baseball, softball with his buddies, which is weird. And then you see that he has really great hearing. And at that point, in my head, I went, well, it's not like he's blind or anything. This is just a weird thing that's going on.
Yeah. So he's
Definitely not
blind.
that he's blind.
He's blind.
He's blind.
And that's the thing about him.
Andy Lawrence is blind.
Andy
in this
Lawrence is
movie.
blind
Chase
in
is
this
blind.
movie.
That's right.
He's not thrilled about the fact that he is moving to Utah because New York City's the best. I've got my whole everything's great here.
Man,
it's
if
going to
you
be
lived
wonderful.
in New York City, imagine
He
moving to
doesn't know
Utah.
if he can get a kosher hot dog in Utah.
I mean, that's huge. That's
So.
huge.
And we all know how important hot dog vendors are
Hot
to
dog
our
culture.
lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's huge.
I mean, when you pass away, you will leave them in your will.
Yeah. Of
That's
course.
right. You have to.
You got to. Hot dog
So he moves to Salt Lake City, I think, or Utah at the very least. Wayne Brady says Salt Lake at one point, but I don't know.
Whatever.
And so he's not thrilled about this, and immediately kind of just starts being. He's kind of grumpy. He's like, I'm from New York, back off. And he bumps into Jock John, as we like to call him.
John.
Yeah. And they kind of start ragging on each other. So this guy's like, what are you, blind? And he's like, oh, that's funny. And then they start going back and forth. And it's hard to know at this point in time if Jock John is picking up on what Jason's putting down. Are they just going to be buddies that rag on each other?
Yeah.
They're not. Jock John is bully, and the other jocks are bully, and they're not very nice. But Jace doesn't just roll over.
No, he
dishes
gives
it
you right
out.
back. Yeah.
He dishes it out.
That's right.
And so he is thinking that the way that he is going to fit in Utah is the same way he's going to fit in New York City, which is crushing the drums.
Yeah.
So he goes to music class, and they're playing some Bach, and he goes into drum solo as you do
classic
when
drum solo.
Baching it up.
Yeah.
And the teacher, played by Wayne Brady, Mr. Wyatt, is basically gives him a whole talking to.
I thought there was.
He's giving him a whole talking to, and it's don't try to make this all about you. It's Bach. There's no solo. Blah blah blah. And
I mean, he's clearly never heard Bach. Bach was known for the drums.
Double
Big time
bass.
drum set guy.
Big
double
time
kick
drum
drum.
set. Every one of his
That's where
compositions.
Lars from Metallica learned was
Yeah, that's
Johann, right?
Yeah,
That's exactly right.
huge on the drums.
Huge
during
on the
that
drums.
period. So,
And he's like,
and
I
Wayne
don't.
would know that if he was a better music teacher.
That's right. Mr. Wyatt gives him this whole talking to.
Played by Wayne
and
Brady. Going to
that's
be a
right.
huge part of this movie. There's no doubt about it.
So he's not really, but
What do you mean?
he's just not really a big part of this movie.
I will say this.
He has a few scenes,
you
and
may-
they're all great.
You may not have to mention him the rest of the way, but if you're listening to this and you've not watched the movie, as we move along in the plot, imagine about every 20 to 23 minutes, there is a scene with Jace and Wayne Brady where Wayne Brady imparts some sort of sage advice, like the end of Rudy, and he's Charles S. Dutton. And then we don't see him ever again. And then 23 minutes later, he'll pop up and do it again 3 or 4 times. He doesn't show up for Jace when it matters. He doesn't show
What's
up at
so
the big
special
events.
about Wayne that he would have such a connection with Jace?
Well, Bran, do you want to tell him?
Well, yeah, he's blind.
He's blind.
And
He's just like Jace.
yeah, he's just like Jace. They let him know that because Jace is like, you don't know, get what I'm coming from or
That's
whatever. And he says, I understand more than anybody, and walks away. And that's when Mary Beth, who he becomes
No, it's
friend.
not Mary Beth. It's
Oh,
a
is it
different
just some
girl.
random
Just
girl?
some random girl.
Random, yeah.
girl says, he's just like you. And he's like, oh man, that's tough.
Which I would almost could take. I don't know if someone said that to me if I was blind and someone said he's just like you.
Oh, so he shreds on the drums just like me?
I would have been like, in what way? Where Jace immediately knows, oh, he's blind. And I just feel like, I don't know. I feel like
What if Jace was like, oh, so he's white? And there's like, no,
like,
no.
he's from New York?
He's from New York? No, I mean, he might be, but
Yeah. So
He's blind.
I there was a better way to have that interaction.
a better way, but they didn't do it that way. So
It's like
Jace,
it was too insensitive for them to have her say he's blind too.
This movie, he
yeah.
can say he's just like you.
he's just like
Yeah,
you.
listen, this movie's 100 minutes long. We didn't have time for exposition.
No.
Yeah,
no.
we had to get right to it. Just like you. Oh, I got it.
But as you're watching this movie, when you
A
get to
blind
the
white New Yorker.
when you get to the point where you realize that it's been too long since Wayne Brady's on the screen, don't worry, he's going to be in the next scene. That it's like they've timed it out perfectly to where when you start getting restless because Wayne hasn't been around in a while, he's in the next scene.
back.
Don't worry. Jace ends up making a couple of friends. First is Fly. That's what everyone calls him because his last name's Shu. That's the work that we're doing.
We're doing that.
And mainly Aaron did the work because he says his full name at
Yeah,
one
he
point.
says his name is Vince Shu.
Shu Fly. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I mean, we had to do a lot of work there because he never once explains Fly, but
whatever.
Even when meeting adults, he's like, "My name is Vince Chu. You can call me Fly."
Yeah.
So
And then there's Mary Beth, who I thought was already in the movie, but I guess she wasn't. And
no, he meets her in the first scene.
They
at the high
are.
school.
That's right.
She's like, "I'm your reader."
They are in band together. They go to like the football thing and they're playing and they're doing this whole thing. And he basically is talking about how, he wants to try to figure out a way to fit in. And they're like, really, the only way you fit in around here is through athletics. And Mary Beth is like, well, how about you give wrestling a shot? And at first, Jace is like, that's like, what are you talking about? Like,
Yeah, no one can wrestle. Like blind kids can't wrestle.
and she's like, "Oh, you want to bet?" She knows a lot about wrestling, and we find out that it's because one, her brothers wrestled,
State
and
champs.
two,
Yeah.
her dad is the wrestling coach.
And that was definitely something that we knew early on. and
Immediately, yes,
Yeah.
Not-
Of course, we did not piece that together later on.
yeah,
Well, she doesn't explain it till later
She
on.
doesn't. That's true.
yeah. And so Fly kind of like goes along with him to figure out the whole wrestling thing, and that's the way that they were going to get Jace to give it a shot. Fly's like, I'll do it with you. It'll be a whole thing. And they both make the team because the coach says basically everybody is welcome. So I think everybody makes the
There's
team.
about 100 people
Yeah,
on that
there's
team.
a lot of people, but they make the team, and that's important. Early on, Jace is struggling with wrestling, and everybody's giving him a hard time. The whole wrestling squad is giving him a hard time. At one point, Jace like hits his head, throws his head back, and hits one of the kids in the nose, and that's not good for anybody.
Right, because that kind of accident in
only
wrestling
happens-
practice, on the first day of
Yeah.
wrestling practice, that kind of accident would only happen
If you're blind,
if you're blind. It
wouldn't
wouldn't
happen
happen
in
in
a-
any
No,
other way.
gosh,
That's
no.
exactly right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And so he starts to hang out with Mary Beth, who gives him some good advice. One, you got to stop being a jerk. You're not being very kind.
Wrestling's like dancing.
And wrestling's like dancing. And
The
so
two
obviously
big ones.
they start dancing together. It's a whole thing. She's given him lessons. She knows a lot about wrestling. And then, he touches her face.
He was touching her.
Yeah, it's a weird bit where she makes a joke about how she's ugly, and he could have said, I think after touching her face, he says something like, somebody with a heart as beautiful as yours couldn't be ugly, or something like
A
that.
face to match the heart. I
Yes.
believe is what
And-
he said, unfortunately.
But he then had to touch her face
Yeah.
without even saying, like,
lot
can
of
I tell?
face
Like,
touching
it was
happening.
just, and we're not going to do that here.
No, but I
None of
do
us are.
love his whole thing is like, your heart is great, so you're beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful.
But he's like, I do have to like just
Touch your
make
eyebrow
sure.
and
Well,
nose.
no,
I
to
do
be fair,
need to make sure.
It is a real awkward scene, but he's like, no, you shouldn't say that you're beautiful. And then she says, how would you know? And I believe that is when he decides, it's face touching time, y'all.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
it is.
believe.
No, that is. She's how would
Yes.
you know?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because if you didn't know at this point, he's blind.
he's blind.
He's blind.
Yeah, that's
That's
right.
exactly right.
That's right. And
But I think after she said, how would you know, he could have then just said, someone with a heart is beautiful. Like, he could have done the line
Without
he
minus-
didn't have
doing
to
the
touch
face
her face.
touching.
Right.
He
you
That's
didn't
that's
have
what
to
that's
touch.
what
The
we're
point we're
trying to
getting
say.
at is you don't
Didn't have
have to
to.
touch someone's face without their consent.
And I think
You don't
the
have to.
the thing that made that scene weirder is that she doesn't react to him touching the face.
Yeah.
It's not a, oh my gosh, this boy's
This
touching
is
my
like a
face, or oh
daily
my
occurrence
gosh.
for her, apparently.
Yes, this
Yeah.
is like, oh, here's another boy touching my face.
Here it is.
And
Face touching time.
Unfazed. Mary Beth is unfazed by someone touching her face.
Well, I think even if someone asked if they could touch my face,
You're
I
going to
think I
react
would
in
st-
some
I would,
way.
I would still
Yeah.
it's not a common occurrence, and I would react either slightly flinching or like, your face would
Do
react.
something.
Yeah.
Do
just
something.
She
like,
is
yeah.
motionless.
Yeah. Statue.
Yeah.
Face pretty. At least half of it. And that's
Yeah,
what
he
that's
only
what,
really touches the left side. He doesn't know what that
strong
right side's
side.
about.
That's right.
He doesn't have any idea.
And as we've learned here, right sides are a whole different
yeah,
than the
it
left
is.
side.
Yeah.
It's a whole different
It
thing.
is.
You don't want to know.
Offensive.
So what you need to know about Jace is a very hard worker. He likes working hard, and
really good.
he shreds the guitar, he crushes the drums. So why would wrestling be any different?
He lifts the weights.
He lifts the weights.
Yeah.
He's very strong.
He's a strong dude.
And so he is putting in the work. He's getting better and better. He's putting, doing the 2 steps. He's beginning to show that he's kind of got what it takes. And the wrestlers kind of start softening. They go from bullying him.
They are bullying him some. The coach
Yes.
has to straighten him out a few times.
Yeah. There's a moment when they put a piece of paper on his back right before his first or second match that like they draw an eye and they cross through it. Real clever, boys.
Yeah.
You get that one on bigbullyboys.com. And so
BigBullyWorld.com.
Yeah, Big Bully World.
together. Yeah.
And so he but they start kind of coming over to his side, which is nice. And in doing so, Fly begins to feel like, hey,
Yeah, they were the
I'm
outcasts
losing my
together.
boy. Yes.
Yeah.
And Fly's just this little guy, and no one cares about him. He's not getting any better at this point in time. And so he's
Jock John is failing Spanish.
Yes.
Yes.
I was going to say he does.
Yeah, and
tutor
that's how-
Jock
yeah.
John in
Yes.
Espanol.
And obviously, Jace is fluent in Spanish.
He knows Spanish so well.
so well.
So he's gonna tutor him, and then Jock John. Is his name
and
John
I'm
in this
not-
at all, or are we just calling him Jock?
It's
John?
Jock John.
I just
He's gonna help him with wrestling and
I do want to camp out on how extraordinary this child is because
Jock John.
no,
Okay.
Andy Lawrence, Jace,
Big
most folks that have a visual impairment or hearing impairment, a foreign language is not part of the curriculum, not because they cannot do it, but because they are maximizing the accommodations around them. And not only is Jace an amazing concert level drummer, not only is he a natural at wrestling, he is basically fluent in Spanish. Like, where'd this kid come from?
Well,
He's
that's
a
I
savant.
said it at one point during the movie,
He
but
shreds
it's like
on the guitar too.
how does he have enough time to?
There's no way.
to master all the things that he's good
Yeah,
at.
and
There's
he's
not enough
good
time in the
for
day.
an audio Spanish lesson.
Yeah.
What?
He's good at baseball. He's good at basketball. He's getting good
It's
at wrestling.
unbelievable.
He's amazing on the drum and guitar.
And I will say, if the point is that like, hey, everyone can do everything with an even playing field and the right accessibility, then good on you. But no high school kid is this much of a savant.
Yeah.
No one. That's crazy.
They overcompensated.
Yeah. Yeah.
By making him a master at everything. But I'm not upset about it. He does work with Jock John, and that's when Jock John begins to realize, oh, this guy's not so bad.
He's not bad.
Which is great. He then makes up with Fly when he decides that he's actually going to choose hanging out with Fly over going to a cool daytime party.
Yes.
And they
all the cool kids.
he's
daytime
like,
party.
hey, here's what Mary Beth taught me, and they dance together, and
He
then
helps him with the wrestling.
Fly becomes good at wrestling.
Yeah.
And also, we
This
do get
dancing technique, the fact that Coach didn't
Yeah,
do this
and his
dancing
daughter
technique,
is?
that's crazy.
But also, we're getting some random matches throughout the year. May I introduce you to first match? May I introduce you to mid-season match? May I introduce you to regular season match number 10?
Number 10, don't forget it.
May I introduce you to regular season match, the last match? Like, there are a lot of random titles. And as we go, you do see he's getting better at wrestling. You also see that Jock John's having some problems.
Yes.
But people are accepting him. And we also get introduced to one T-Rex.
That's
Which
right.
I'll give it back to you, Brandon.
Well, T-Rex is a big deal.
Yeah, huge deal.
and it's
Gets
not
about
really-
as much screen time as Wayne Brady.
Yes, that's
Or
true.
more.
Yeah.
And it's not really.
He's definitely talked about more.
Yeah, for sure.
T-Rex isn't something or someone that Jace is really going to have to worry about because that's Jock John's competition.
Jock John's
That's
got him.
Jock John's competition.
He's got to make weight, though.
He's got to make
Yeah.
weight, and he does. And Jock John does make weight, and they do have battle. I believe it is an end of regular season final match.
Jock John loses, exhausted from.
Well, he spent 2 days
Cutting weight.
Yes.
working out, not eating to drop 6 pounds.
That's right.
That's right.
And then he
Yes, and
surprisingly, that's not a healthy way
What?
to lose weight.
It's not a healthy thing to have high schoolers do.
as they're preparing for regionals,
Who's to say?
regionals, finals, whatever it's called, coach is like, hey,
Nationals?
Mid-season number 10
Regionals.
regional regular
yes,
season.
Jock John, T-Rex isn't your battle anymore. Jace is gonna take on T-Rex.
There's also
Yeah,
a reporter that's
And
trying
Jock John
to.
is facing Faceless Joe.
Sure. Well,
I think-
Joe Faceless, I
Joe
believe, but I
Faceless,
think
sorry.
that's a fake person that they made up. They're just like in anybody.
I don't think.
Oh.
Yeah, I don't. know.
Joe Faceless is. You thought Joe Faceless was real?
It's hard
No.
to say.
I thought it was like a nickname like T-Rex.
No, it's like
Yeah, God forbid there's Faceless Joe in the same movie as T-Rex. That'd be crazy.
Joe Faceless, last name Faceless.
Yeah, like Tracy with no last name.
Tracy, no last name.
What?
There's
She's
a
real.
reporter around that
In the
is
locker room.
trying to, in the locker room with children, trying to write like an inspiration porn story where it's like, this blind kid is wrestling. Look how amazing. Like it's one of those. And Jace resents it. And slowly but surely he learns a lesson from Wayne Brady. And also his team starts to join him in treating him like it's not just about an inspiration situation.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
It is time for the big match. And he's going to go up against T-Rex. It's a big deal. And
If there's one thing you needed to know about T-Rex, what would that be?
he likes legs. T-Rex likes legs. He's barely going to go after your legs in the match. It's going to be
He
a ton
loves
of
him
flipping.
some legs.
It's going to be
That
almost
is what we hear.
It's going to be almost entirely flipping, but he does like legs, and you should know that going into it. I would say for 90% of this match, I'm convinced that T-Rex is beating him very easily.
Yeah.
But they
I
keep
was
cutting
very-
to the scoreboard, and
That
it's,
makes no
it's pretty
sense.
even.
There's
Yeah,
an
and
18,
it's like
there's a
18,
12, there's a 34, there's a
Yeah.
29.
I was pretty convinced that Jace was gonna break an arm from how many
Yeah.
times
he gets
T-Rex,
flipped
like,
like
threw
5 or
him
6
to the
times.
He gets in a pretty deep
Suplexes.
arm bar there,
Yeah.
and it looks
Yep.
Listen,
not good.
if anybody is listening to this episode and understands wrestling point systems,
Because
could you maybe watch?
thought
Could you
I
watch
did.
this final match and then let us know?
I thought it was like a 1-to-3 situation, and then I see 34, 29, 18, and 12 up there, and I don't know
some
what's going
flips
on.
are 2, some flips are
An
3.
escape is worth 1.
Yeah.
But then also sometimes you can flip somebody and the ref has it within his power to say no points.
No points.
And I don't like, when is a no
Yeah.
pointer?
I mean, you don't necessarily because they're timed, so you don't necessarily have to pin someone. So then it would go to the point system. I do know that much, but
Yeah.
how points are awarded, I don't quite get.
Yeah.
If
Boxing's easy.
there's
Boxing's
anyone
just
who's
like,
a
you
little
hit 'em.
bit more knowledgeable at that, like please watch National Regional Final Championship number one
Mid-season, regular
Uh,
season, number 10. Yeah.
before, but not states.
we'll get
But
the-
if you could just let us know how that worked, because I didn't think Jace was anywhere near T-Rex.
But also, they
Point-wise.
do this thing where it feels like a classic Disney movie. He's going to come back and win it all. And then we hear in the last round, they say it, he's got to pin him to win.
Yeah.
To win.
And
And
he
then
do-
he does pin him, and he does not win.
Well, he doesn't fully pin him.
He doesn't. Yeah,
But he pins him, no, because they did enough to make it to state.
He got enough points for the
Okay.
team.
he didn't
so
fully pin him.
He didn't fully pin him, so he loses the match to T-Rex, but the moves that he did at the end gave the team enough points to win, and that's why they're going to state.
So it just means like other people on his team, enough of them won.
Like
that they were-
Fly. Fly won.
Fly won. I think Jock John
Jock
won.
John beat Faceless Joe.
So then it comes down.
Joe Faceless.
It's like in
Put some respect on the
it's
Faceless
like in
family.
the Quidditch World Cup. You can catch the snitch and not win. It's one of those situations.
It's exactly
Yeah,
like
so,
that. So anyway,
yeah.
In the books, anyway. In the
Yes.
movie, you catch the snitch, it's over. You win automatically, right?
Well, no, you can. You
I don't
catch
know.
the snitch, the game
Here
is
we go.
over, but it's a point system. So
Here's
the
the
other
rest of
team
our
has
day.
more points. You can catch the snitch and still lose.
In the books, that's explained. In the movie, they pretty much say if you catch the snitch, you win, right?
They,
The what-
they
like,
do
I-
say like
Yes. Okay. Because in the books, they never say that. They say you
It's how you
probably
die.
will win.
But in the
like,
fourth movie at the Quidditch World Cup, Bulgaria still loses.
in the book or the movie?
Both.
I've not seen the movie in forever, and I've not read the book at all. So I just know this.
I'm pretty sure Ireland
when I
wins, but Con
watched the
catches the snitch.
movies,
And Harry
I
Potter
remember
1, that is what they say.
hearing.
Okay. Sorry, we're
that
going.
if you catch the snitch, you win. And then I read the book, and I
Well,
went,
he's how
"This
you
makes
die.
more sense than just having a snitch
I
out there."
can't get through either watching this movie or talking about this movie without going off on some book tangent because
Yeah,
that's
clearly.
more interesting to me than this wrestling
Wait
movie.
until
Wow.
Zandu or whatever.
Zayden?
Zayden catches
Zandu.
up with you.
We call
all
him Zandu.
Here's what happens.
Yeah,
T-Rex
and Zandu
T-Rex
was in
is
this
like,
movie.
hey, I'm going to see you again at States, and you're going
Yeah.
down again.
There is a cute moment where the ref lifts up T-Rex's hand because he won, and then T-Rex grabs Jace's hand
That's very
and
sweet.
also
Yeah.
lifts it up.
The news reporter is there, and he tries to do the story again, but all of the teammates are basically like, he's not blind. Like, we have a blind kid on our team? What?
Yeah,
So he doesn't have
it's a great bit where they're like, who's blind?
Yeah.
Jace, did you know you're blind?
And the movie ends.
And his parents look adoringly on, like, oh.
Look at that, friends. We're never going back to New York. And so
Kosher hot dogs, who?
That's right. Don't need them. And the movie ends with afterwards he comes out, he thanks his parents for coming, and then he goes and he tells like, Mary Beth, you want to dance? You know what that means.
And he brings out his iPod, but nope, it's his recorder that
tape
recorder.
recorder.
Which I thought he was using primarily for notes, but I guess also slow jams.
Got it queued up on a slow jam.
Yeah, he has that tape recorder queued up on a slow jam.
Ready to go. And they dance in almost the center of the court, and that was going to the mat. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Let's do this. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about the movie and how it aged over time, and we'll make our list. That's O&M, everybody. Here on DCOM Descendants.
You see what happens when you give us a chance? It's like Weird Jace.
Welcome back, everybody. It's time for overtime. So we're talking about how this movie aged over time. I have some Letterboxd reviews if you guys want them.
Love them.
Up first, we have a review from Rach that says, going to the mat walk so that Daredevil could run, which they make a Daredevil joke in this movie, so I don't know how well that
Pretty
that
sure the
review
Ben
works,
Affleck
but
Daredevil was out before this.
but
right?
I appreciate the attempt, Rach. Emily
awesome.
says 5 stars. I almost quit the tab when I saw that it was the Horse Sense kid again. This better be his last DCOM. Is it?
I think so.
I think it might
God,
be.
there's so many Andy Lawrence joints.
But how about Emily sticking it out and giving it 5 stars?
Wow.
Brian M. Wrong says it's a kid-friendly whiplash with a blind kid who wrestles.
I did have whiplash feels early on in the movie with how they were doing the drum stuff. Yes.
Oscar says watched in Madrid instead of going out and experiencing the city. Stand by the decision.
Why?
What is that? A Tisha? Utica? Utica! Utica!
How'd you get a T-shirt?
Utica pedestrian. 2.5 stars. Here's a quote from the movie. You're going down.
I don't know if Brand knows how to read.
You're going down. Next quote. Yeah, all over you.
Okay.
Pause.
Okay.
And then that's a real line. That's
There
tough.
were a few lines like that in this movie.
Yeah, and it's like, and then this one
He loves
is
the legs.
for all the people that noticed Chris Nolan's credit in this movie. Bry Film says, "Well, I sure hope Oppenheimer is a better Chris Nolan film than this one."
Of course.
Let's share our thoughts on this movie. I'll start with you, Aaron. Aaron, you saw it. You saw it as a kid. You saw it now. What do you think about Going to the Mat?
Yeah, I do remember seeing this when it first came out. Probably only because it was Andy Lawrence, and that was enough of a draw for me to watch this movie. Because nothing else about it would have been for 13-year-old Aaron. Sports, just a bunch of boys playing sports. No, I want girls inheriting islands and forming girl groups.
Duh.
So I don't. The only thing I really remember is that he's blind and then he wrestles, and that stands true. He's blind and he learns how to wrestle. Would have told you that Wayne Brady was a much bigger part of this movie.
I think we all would have, but I've not seen it.
I mean, I had seen it as a kid, and I knew who Wayne Brady was because I loved Whose Line Is It Anyway? Yeah, Wayne Brady is barely in this movie, and that was probably a big disappointment. Like, he's not, and when he is in there, he's not funny. He's trying to have a serious role. I don't know. The movie's fine. It's going to be middle of the pack for me. It might be the best Lawrence brother joint DCOM from an acting standpoint.
From an acting standpoint, definitely.
Yeah, so yeah, I don't know, guys.
Yeah, I think Andy did a good job with this one. I agree, and I think everybody would echo the need for more Wayne Brady. I think a serious Wayne Brady is inspiring AF, and I loved every scene that he was in, and I just can't believe that it was less than whatever you're thinking.
Yeah.
the
Take
amount
it
of
down a
Wayne
notch.
Brady. Take it down. It's the less, and that's somehow crazy. But I thought the movie was good, and I thought that our boy Zero from Holes. It was great to see him. I think
He should be in more things.
Yes, he should. I don't know if he can act anymore, but as a kid, he crushed it, and I'm surprised that this is the only two things that I know him from.
You don't know if he can act.
I don't know
anymore?
if he still has it. I don't
If
know.
he does act
Yeah,
anymore. Okay.
yeah. I don't know if he's done anything in a long time, but he's great in Holes, and he's great in this. And I thought this movie was really solid. Dano?
Yeah, this is a really high quality bad DCOM. And so it is, the acting in this movie is well above average for DCOM. When Wayne Brady's F on the call sheet, you've got a pretty stacked cast. Wayne Brady giving inspirational speeches. I love that.
And
I
Chris
love that.
Nolan writing it too.
Yeah, one of them. I think Andy Lawrence has never been better, but the movie is not good. And I think that is the big problem is there's a lot that I like about this movie. Tru Confessions was offensive and I will never watch it again. This movie does a lot to make up for that in how you treat people, no matter what walk of life they come from, and what it means to make accessibility for all and treat people as human beings, no more, no less. And so this movie does those things right. It has great acting in it, but it is a mess. It's overstuffed. The wrestling barely makes sense. The band stuff is there for some reason and then not enough and simultaneously too much. The love interest stuff is there and simultaneously not enough and too much. And his family life is there and not enough and simultaneously too much. This movie could have been 30 minutes shorter or longer. As it stands, none of it really gets what it deserves. And so you've got great acting, you've got a really solid message, and you got a movie that is unfortunately, it just doesn't work. So I'm in a tough spot because I think the acting of this movie is probably top 15 acting, but I don't think it's a top 15 movie. So I know where I've placed it now. It's a matter of if it stays there, different story.
I think mine will move.
Yeah.
But like, I gotta wait the same thing. Like, I really liked the people in this movie, but the movie as a whole doesn't work for me.
Correct. Yeah.
So it is somewhere right now, and I just have to weigh it based on other movies. Like, I don't know.
So, really quick sidebar. Chris
Okay.
Nolan, not that Chris Nolan.
Not that Chris
I wanted
Nolan.
to see what else he had done, and I just got a kick out of his IMDb because it says Chris Nolan is known for I Kissed a Vampire, 2009. I Kissed a Vampire, 2010. He wrote the same thing twice, which is crazy. One was a TV show musical, apparently.
What?
Starring Drew Seeley as a character named Trey Sylvania.
No.
And then also a movie version of the show that came out a year later.
We need to get Drew Seeley on this pod.
Also,
He's down, right?
also Drew Seeley. So I don't know if they took the show
Well, Trey
and made it
Sylvania.
I don't know. I don't know what happened. I don't know if they hallmarked it and they said, "Hey, we have a movie. Let's split it up into shows." And they said, "Well, we made a mistake." I don't know, but I love that it was just same credit twice. That's great. Let's make our list. Let's check it twice. Let's see where this movie is going to land. Aaron?
Yeah. So this movie I have debuting at 34. Right behind Genius and right ahead of Horse Sense.
You have Genius all the way down at 35.
I don't like that movie.
Wow.
It is at 33. How dare you?
You said right ahead of. Oh, my bad. Okay, that's what you said.
Right,
You're
yeah.
good.
Yeah, I think I enjoyed the acting performance. The characters in this movie I think I liked more than a bunch of other movies I've seen, but plot wise, I don't know.
Okay.
Whatever.
Any changes to your top 10?
No. Scream Team, Miracle on Lane 2, Get a Clue, Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, Phantom of the Megaplex, Smart House, Johnny Tsunami, Right on Track, Cadet Kelly, and Brink. Just kidding. Motocrossed.
Every time you say right
I got
on
really
track,
excited.
I'm always like, what is that movie? And then I have to look it
It's
up.
the track movie.
Yeah.
So-
Every time I'm like, what is that? That movie just did not land for me at all.
So this movie I have at 18. I have it one above, ironically, Right on Track. And then
on Track.
right behind You Wish is
Right
where I
on
have it. No changes for Brand. 10, Luck of the Irish. 9, Phantom. 8, Full Court Miracle. 7, Smart House. 6, Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off. 5, Cadet Kelly. 4, Get a Clue. 3, Motocrossed. 2, Johnny Tsunami. And number 1, the greatest movie of all time, Brink.
I have Going to the Mat at 20.
Hey!
I'm not happy with that ranking. I simultaneously think it should be lower and higher. I'll explain myself. I look behind it and I see Xenon and I'm like, this movie is better acted than Xenon, but Xenon, I like the whole message of the whole movie and the swing of it. So I kind of think Xenon's better. But then I look ahead of this movie and I have The Other Me. And The Other Me is not as good a performance from Andy Lawrence. And so,
but it's a great, I thought of this too. It's a great performance from Tui.
Correct.
So,
but it is,
what are
this
you gonna
movie's
do?
quite the conundrum. It currently sits at 20. I don't see it getting much higher than that, but also it could. I don't know. Top 10 hasn't changed. 10 Miracle in Lane 2, 9 Full Court Miracle, 8 Scream Team, 7 Get a Clue, 6 Eddie's $1 Million Cook-Off, 5 Cadet Kelly, 4 Phantom of the Megaplex, 3 Moms Got a Date with a Vampire, 2 Johnny Tsunami, number 1 Motocross. Nobody touching it.
Nobody touching it.
That's right.
And I think next week is not going to touch motocross either, as much as I love next week.
Up next, we
What
have
do we got next week?
Xenon, Z3,
boy.
Xenon, Z3, the Mighty Ducks.
No, thank you.
So we'll see how it goes, everybody. Come on back for that. Leave a review. Share it with your friends that
Have them
also
leave a
watch
review.
the DCOMs, all that stuff. We're trying to get 300 so that Dan will watch the Lizzie McGuire movie. For those of you that have come in late,
We're not even halfway there, and I feel great about it.
I think we're gonna be okay. Until next time.
DCOM.
Keep
DCOM it all day.
Take it to the mat.
Okay.
DCOM Descendants is a Bramble Jam podcast produced in that Greenville by Brandon Gray at the Bramble Jam Podcast Network Studios. You can find us on the socials at DCOM Descendants. You can find us online, DCOMpodcast.com. To watch these movies live, you can go to BrambleJamPlus.com. Please leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts.
Do it.